It's on the screen.
Welcome to Live with LA. You're here at the Trentonian newsroom, and this morning's first guest is Christine Donahue. Hello, hello.
Hello.
You've taken off your political hat, I see, and doing some other things in the community. I see you just about everywhere I go. You were at the cleanup at Columbus Park over the weekend. It was great to see you. And you're here to talk about the St. Patrick's Day Parade, which a lot of people thought maybe 2 years ago that was leaving the city, and people got together and showed their strength, and it's still here.
Yeah, it's really inspiring LA, how many people have come together and are working together. It's really become a regional effort, but it's really an opportunity for Trenton to shine, and it's something that people really look to Trenton for. So it's great that we can provide that.
How'd you guys do last year in terms of trying to organize it after some people had decided that they were going to move a portion of it or move the event out to Hamilton Township?
Well, what we found is that once we spearheaded the effort, that local businesses were in fact interested in supporting the parade, and one of the problems that they had is that it was more of a Hamilton organization, and so when the Hamilton organization was approaching the Trenton businesses, they weren't as interested. But now that it's really a Trenton effort, the businesses have really stepped up and are really doing everything they can to support the parade.
It was amazing to see the fight that Trentonians do have in terms of keeping important events here. I mean, events that were originated here, and they need to stay here to continue the growth of the city.
And it's really just an excuse, moving it out of the city. But in terms of the parade,
an excuse for what?
Well, I think it's convenient for certain people, and it's a very popular event. It's a regional event. It champions Philadelphia and New York. You know, we have national acts that come, and I think it was just in certain people's best interest to see it in another venue rather than in Trenton. But in terms of Trenton community and in terms of Irish heritage, we feel that as many parades as can be put on should be put on. It just does more to help the community and to help spread the word about Irish heritage.
I will tell you that the issue about the St. Patty's Day Parade created the Trenton African American Pride Festival, because I was like saying, well, they're arguing about they're having two parades. Trenton had never had any type of festival that celebrated the African American heritage, and that's how that all came to be. And we had a very successful event last year. So
it was a fabulous event,
yeah.
And we really want to get the word out that it's not really a St. Patrick's Day parade in terms of Irish heritage. It's really a Trenton St. Patrick's Day parade, and we really hope that the entire community embraces it. We're going to have all different people walking in. All the civic associations are going to be walking in it. The Guatemalan Civic Association has come forward, and they're going to have a float in it as well as a marching band. And so we're hoping that everyone will really come out and walk. There's no excuse not to walk in the parade if you'd like to.
I think it's a wonderful message, because we need to celebrate our culture, all heritages, and realize that at the end of the day, though, that we're one city. But we can celebrate, the Irish and Polish and African Americans and Guatemalans. It is truly a melting pot of people here, and we need to start. We need to drop some of these hang-ups that we have, and just get out and celebrate each other. We'd be a better city. So
there's no reason why we can't have a parade every weekend in the city of Trenton. And I think the beauty of the St. Patrick's Day Parade is that there is a committee that came together to raise money and support the parade. So it's not really the city putting on the parade, it's the citizens putting on the parade. And that's what we really need. We need groups to bond together, whether it's the Puerto Rican Day Parade or the African American National
Pride Festival.
Festival. That's really what we need to focus on.
Now, you guys paint the green line and everything?
We're in the process, yeah.
It's not done. Not done by an artist or anything, is it? So talk about there's raffles being sold. There's a lot of things going on, right?
Well, first off, LA, I brought you a present. I'd just like to show everybody this. This is our button for the. I can't get it quite on there.
There you go.
There you go. And these are available for $3. You can buy them at the Mardi Gras Festival party at McManaman's Pub on Liberty and Grand Street this Sunday, starting at 2 p.m. They're $3 a piece.
Great visual.
So that's for you.
We encourage all of our guests to bring little visuals like that. Joey Colkin does a great job anyway finding stuff to get up there. Joey's our managing editor and a major part of this event, of this show. So.
We also have raffle tickets that we're selling. You can buy them from me. You can buy them at McManaman's Pub. They're $5 a raffle, and the trip is a $1,500 trip to New Orleans.
So. And what about the Tierna now? You guys end up there, or end up at McManaman's after all this? Where do you guys go to?
Well, actually, this year we're lucky enough to have a bus. And again, you can ask to be on that bus, and the bus is going to go to all the pubs. It's going to go to T-Pads, to Gersh's, to Tierna Og, and I think ultimately it's going to wind up at McManaman's.
Cool.
So
if you don't drink and drive, right?
Get on the
Get
bus.
on the I think Spike Lee or someone may have already stole the title. But listen, Christine Donahue, always a pleasure. And let me tell you something. I said in the beginning she took off her political hat. We need people to show up all the time, not when you're just running for something. I see this in the city so often that when it's an election year, you see everybody everywhere. And then if you lose or whatever, you don't see any more until the next election year. So I'm always happy to see you somewhere. I do see you everywhere, and I want to congratulate you because I know that you have the best interests of the city in your heart. So
thank you, Ellie.
Christine Donahue, thanks for stopping by. St. Patty's Day Parade, make sure you get there. Who's next? We have Mr. Ken Gordon here. How are you, Ken?
Doing well. How are you?
We have a big topic. We're going to talk about the NAACP. You're the South Jersey Executive Director,
Southern Burlington
NAACP.
County, Southern Burlington County President.
How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Nice to have you here. Scoot up on here.
Alrighty. Good to be here. Thank you for having me.
I'm going to ask the most pertinent question, at least I think. Is the NAACP still relevant?
Well, it absolutely is. When you take a look at what's going on in the country right now, and you take a look at some of the problems that we're still having with race and a lack of diversity in a lot of different areas, the NAACP is absolutely irrelevant. The NAACP, through judicial and legislative action, is the entity that fights for the rights of all Americans. What we really do is through judicial and legislative action, we attempt to seek civil rights, social justice, and equal opportunity for all Americans. And if you take a look around, we haven't arrived yet. We've made progress, certainly, but we haven't arrived. So the NAACP is the oldest advocacy organization in America for civil rights, certainly, and we still have a lot of work to do, and the NAACP is still doing it in a lot of different ways. Can we do better? Absolutely. Can we come more into the times? Absolutely. Is there a different style that is necessary now? Absolutely. And the leadership, I think, understands that, and I think you have new leaders that are coming up every single day that are adjusting to the world that we live in. You know, LA, the truth of the matter is, we cannot be that organization any longer that is standing at a podium, banging on a podium, calling people racist. That just doesn't work anymore. The NAACP understands that it doesn't work anymore when you go and sit in and boycott and march. It's a different way now. It's about collaboration. It's about education. It's about helping people understand why diversity is a good thing versus telling them that they're wrong. And for that reason, we're absolutely relevant.
I'll tell you what I hear all the time, and it's like, well, you guys have a black president. You're here. What's the problem?
And we do, and we are so incredibly proud of President Barack Obama. He has experienced more disrespect, and he has been treated worse than any president that anyone has ever seen. And people who want to try to act like that's because he's a Democrat, it's because of the color of his skin. There are a lot of people who still have a real issue with the fact that our commander-in-chief is an African-American. And that's unfortunate, but it's reality. And I think, you know, it's just like in anything else. You can't fix a problem until you admit to the problem.
Let me stop you there. Why don't more people say that? I know the president can't say that. He attempted to earlier on in his first term, and there will be a second, to talk about race. And then he said, you know what, I'm going to back off of that. I didn't see other African American leaders stand up and say, you know, well, we'll do your speaking for you. Did you see that?
I didn't necessarily see it, and it is necessary. It is necessary that people step forward and they deal with the elephant in the room. And the elephant in the room is, no matter what someone says, it is about race.
Right.
It's about some people's discomfort with the fact that you have a man that does not look like what people consider to be the majority, who is the most powerful man in the world. And he has a woman next to him who is an African American woman, a strong African American woman, who absolutely doesn't apologize for who and what she is, and doesn't try to say I'm like everyone else. But the truth of the matter is, she's different, and different is good. And then they have two children that are beautiful, beautiful African American children. So I think it is incumbent upon us, and one thing I say all the time is you can't pray for change, and you can't pray for people to bring you change, and when they arrive, not support them. So it is our responsibility, and certainly in the NAACP, we are gearing up, as we did in 2008, to continue supporting President Barack Obama, not just because he's black, not just because he's a Democrat, but because he espouses the same mission and the same things that we as an organization espouse, and those are the ones that we support.
Let's talk about some issues in the African American community.
Okay.
Number one, for at least in my book, is education. Why have we abandoned the one thing that we know produces success and usually a good life?
Well, when you say abandoned, are you talking about the public school debate?
I'm talking about public school. I'm talking about illiteracy. I'm talking about truancy. I'm talking about just completely dropping out.
Yeah.
I'm talking about all those things that are part of this problem.
So, look, I think the bottom line is that there are people who understand that we can't go anywhere as an African American people without education. Education is absolutely, our key, if you will, that to get us out of the cage of ignorance and
poverty
and lack. But the truth of the matter is, we've allowed ourselves to become distracted. We've allowed ourselves to become distracted with bling bling. We've allowed ourselves to become distracted with the easy way out. I mean, I have a 15-year-old son, and one of my biggest struggles with my son is helping him understand that the easy way is not always the best way, and that you have to look strategically. We don't teach our children in the African American community to think and look strategically. We talk to them about we've never had, so if you have an opportunity to have now, get it right now. That can't be. We must be patient, and not patient in the aspect that we will wait for everyone to give it to us. No, we have to be patient in that we have to learn that you have to put the time in. You have to work. You have to go to school. You have to get the degrees. It used to be that you needed a bachelor. That doesn't work anymore. Nowadays, the bachelor is barely gets you in the door. Now it's that advanced graduate degree. And student loans are a problem and an issue. There's a lot of different things that impact our education. And let me just say this. Don't think for 1 second that it's all on us as African Americans. Because if you take a look at people who are able to get that education, there are dollars and resources that follow them that we don't have in the African American community, and we don't have access to when it comes to student loans.
But we're not fighting for them. We had $135 million on the table to build a new high school here in Trenton.
Okay.
It got bogged down by discussions and arguments about whether they wanted to save the structure of the building for its historical value. The argument went on for years.
Who was arguing?
The people that were
the community.
The people that went there, attended that school back in the 1950s.
So I'll go back to what I said. Distractions.
Right.
We are easily distracted.
Check this
we
out.
are ADD.
So listen. so they're showing up at every meeting.
Yes.
12 of them.
Yes.
To argue their point.
Yes.
We have no one showing up.
Yes.
They eventually win.
Right.
They stall the project. And so we change governors from Corzine to Chris Christie, and Chris Christie comes and says, wow, we have $135 million sitting here doing nothing.
And you ask me, is the NAACP still relevant? There you go. It is things like that that the NAACP is supposed to get engaged in. It's not even a matter of whether or not if they don't or not. It's a matter. There's a lot of relevancy to the NAACP. It's our responsibility as an organization to get engaged in those
but when the governor comes along and says, I'm going to take all this money, I expect the community to rise up and say something and to argue that point. And so I don't totally agree that some of the old things don't work. In Wisconsin, when they had an issue with their governor, they all went down there and they sat there until they had that debate and had that discussion. We need to do some of the old things.
But wait a minute now.
They can work.
But you said something that's really key. They went down and they sat and they had debate and they had conversation.
And they got access.
I'm not saying to you that debate and conversation don't work.
Does sitting in work?
There's a time and a place for everything, and you have to elevate what you're doing and your methods based on the circumstances. You can't always start off with the sit-in.
Right.
Sometimes you have to start off with a talk-in.
Right.
You have to start off with having dialogue, and if you find out that doesn't work, you must be prepared to take it to the next level. And that's what a lot of people are missing. Don't start off at level 10.
Right.
Start off
That's
at level
fine.
1 and then work your way up.
That's fine. You're in the shadows of Philadelphia.
I am.
325 murders last year.
Yeah,
it's the killing field.
Absolutely.
Most of the victims are us. Most of the assailants are us. What's happening? How do we even make any inroads into stopping some of the violence?
Yeah, and that's a wonderful question. And interestingly enough, on Saturday I was in New York City at the NAACP's annual meeting. And at the annual meeting, a gentleman stood up from Connecticut, and he said to President Ben Jealous and to the chairman of our board, Rosalind Brock, he stated those stats. And he said, we need to see the NAACP come out with a national initiative to stop the violence in our own community. We need them to come out and take a leadership role in developing a strategy that we're going to attack that with, and I think we have to. I think that there is a lack of self-esteem. I think that there is a lack of awareness. I think that there is a feeling that we don't matter and we don't count, and to take one of our own lives is not a big deal. But what we don't understand is every time we take one of our own lives, we take away one person that could help us get to that next level. And I think that the NAACP as an organization must focus on that. There was a call to focus on that, and Ben Jealous stood up and said it was something that he absolutely is going to take to the board, to the executive committee, and have a discussion. So I expect in the very near future, sure, on the NAACP's radar this year is civic engagement and the election up and coming, but I absolutely believe that we have the ability to multitask and also deal with that, because that's a major issue. It's a major problem.
In the past, a lot of the fears in the African American community were about dealt with white people and their anger with us. Now, a lot of our fears are with that young man walking down our side of the street. Did you ever think we would come to this day that we would be afraid of each other?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the reason I think that is because that's the way it was modeled. If you take a look on the media right now, the media does a wonderful job in portraying our young black men as angry, as killers, as animals, as thugs. So it has been a concerted effort to paint us a certain way. And unfortunately, in our society, we take our cues on who we are based on what we see, and based on what we see on the media and what we see in the newspapers, and we have to be smarter than that. We have to understand that that's only a small segment. So if you're taking your cues off of that, if you're looking on and you're seeing, all of these reality shows and you think that's reality, then we're to blame. We cannot allow ourselves to get caught up in that. We have to define ourselves and not allow ourselves to be defined by other people. And that's what we're allowing to happen. So it was inevitable that it would come to that point. But that's our fault. It's our fault for buying into that. It's our fault for not giving a counter to that. We have the ability in the African American community, and I'm going to talk just about that community for a moment, with our buying power, to have our own media and our own networks and to put our own shows on television. We have the ability to do those kinds of things and to give a counter to say, here's how we are also. Here's another view of who we are. And if we're not doing that, don't sit back and blame everybody else. We need to do that.
The Red Tails movie came out. It got a lot of bad reviews.
But a lot of good ones.
Wait. By a lot of white people.
Yeah.
And you talk about taking our cues. I was like, well, I'm glad you have your opinion.
Yes.
But I'm going to decide this for myself.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go see the movie.
Yes.
I took my son over the weekend, and it was still packed.
Yes.
It was Monday. It was Monday. It was a holiday, but it was packed. But it was packed with
in Trenton.
Just outside of Trenton, in Hamilton, which is a white suburb.
Okay.
But it was packed with everybody, blacks, whites, whatever. I was so happy to see young white kids there, teens there.
Yes.
And at the end of the movie, the white teens got up before anybody else did anything, and they applauded.
Absolutely.
And I was like, you know what? We are moving forward.
Yes.
And then guess what? And then the black people said, well, I guess I'll applaud too. But but it was just kind of cool to see.
Well, here's the thing. I think that it is a mistake to believe that all white people don't want black people to succeed.
Dr. King said it all the time.
I think it's wrong to believe that every white person is a racist. And let me just tell you something else real controversial. It's also wrong to believe that every Republican is a racist.
Exactly.
And I think that we have to learn.
Some of my best friends are Republicans.
We have to learn. I can't say that, but We have to learn to take people and deal with them for who they present themselves to be to us, and to take history and to take information and data and deal with it on that. I've seen it 3 times in the movie theaters. The first time I went to see it, I took my entire family, my mother, my father, my children, my nieces, everyone, and I paid for everybody to go. And then I went 2 additional times in the movie theater because we have an obligation to support our own culture. Every single time I went, it was absolutely packed, and every single time I went, it was absolutely diverse.
Right.
It was old, it was young, it was black, it was white, it was Asian Americans. I mean, it was Latinos. It was a wonderfully rich and diverse group that was there. And as they say anymore nowadays, as my kids say, that's what's up.
I try to tell people it wasn't a documentary. It wasn't supposed to be.
Right.
It was supposed to get your attention, pique your interest, and then after that you could go find out and read about it. Right?
Absolutely.
Find out the real deal.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge, if you will, of entertainment. Not to just have you sit there and veg out, but have you ask questions and say, okay, let me go find out more.
Right.
And that's a beautiful thing.
You know, your son, if he just saw that and heard you say, "That's what's up," he was like, "No, Dad." My 13-year-old son, "No, Dad." You're beyond that, Dad.
It's my daughter that's going to say that. My daughter's always said, "Dad, you know that's what's up."
Yeah,
so I try to relate to them. And that's really what it's all about. There should be a desire on all sides to try to relate to one another. Not make my son into a 45-year-old man,
right,
and not make me into a 15-year-old, but rather relate. And sometimes you do that by learning the language, learning some of the culture, learning some of the habits and the things that they do, and making that attempt. I've been very blessed to travel internationally. And the thing that I've learned when I travel internationally is when you go to different countries and you at least try to speak their language,
right,
they appreciate you.
Right.
And that's what we've got to do in America. We've got to learn that it's not all one way or the other, that we must try to relate to one another.
And it's got to be genuine. Because I was at a meeting maybe about a month ago, and this guy was calling this Hispanic woman, middle-aged probably, señorita. And that's like, well, wait a minute, whoa.
Right, right.
But he was sitting behind her. He couldn't see her facial expression. Every time he said señorita, she had this look on her face because it's señora by that moment.
Absolutely.
So if you're going to try and do that, try to get it right, because even that becomes an issue. Let's talk about some stats that came out late last week about interracial marriage. 1 in 12 marriages in the U.S. is interracial, black and white. What does that do to the dynamic of the NAACP and African Americans in general?
I don't think it does anything to the dynamic other than strengthen it and reinforce it. And let me just say this. There are people out there who think the NAACP is for and about African Americans, and that is wrong.
Okay.
It is so wrong.
So the color's not black, it's just...
Well, one of the things I do in the little briefcase that I carry every day that I'm doing my little NAACP thing is I have a color palette in there.
Okay.
And I take my color palette out and I show it to everyone and I say, what is this color? That's brown. What is this color? That's red. What is this color? That's white. Oh, white's a color? Yes, it is. Okay, National Association for the Advancement of Colored People is not just about black people. A lot of people don't know that it was European Americans and Jewish Americans that started the NAACP. So when you look at interracial couples and interracial relationships, what you're doing is these people, these pioneers, are almost forcing us to relate to one another, because they're taking an African American family in many cases, and they're taking a Caucasian family, a European family, whatever that is, and they're putting us together in a way that we have commonality and that we have to relate. So that can be a very beautiful thing.
The major jump in interracial marriages is black men and white women. Is America all right with that, do you think? You know what happened? Let me tell you something. Let me just say this. You know, Joey Culkin, the managing editor, I guess he went on Facebook yesterday and talked about, we were going to be talking about interracial marriages. And so, inevitably, people start to respond. Now listen, if your face is up there, and people can connect your comments and your thoughts with your face, you're probably not going to say, I disagree, I hate it, blacks and whites should never be together. So generally you get all the people that say, you know what, I thought we were beyond that, it's okay with me, it's cool. Listen, it's not cool across America, it's not. When we have,
so you're answering the
question. Wait a minute. When we have a country that, when Barack Obama ran for president, 20% of white people right off the top said, you know what, I could never vote for a black guy. Never.
Right.
No matter what his qualifications, I could never vote for a black guy. So don't tell me that everything's all right. I mean,
Oh, I'm not telling you.
no,
that.
I'm just saying, but those people that responded yesterday.
No, and let me just say this right here. 1 in 12, you know, that may be a new statistic, but I guarantee you that the majority of their families are having a high level of discomfort. The truth of the matter is, and it's difficult to paint with a broad brush, but is America in general okay? No, they're not.
Right.
And here's why I say that. Walk along the street behind an interracial couple and watch the looks that they get. Watch what happens to their children. We have a young lady that is part of our chapter, and she is mixed, and there's a name for that, and it's escaping me right now. But nonetheless, and one of the she's you know an interracial child. But one of the things that she talks about is the difficulty that those children have in a, you know many people call them mulattoes or something like that. But the difficulty that they have. So America as a whole, they're not there yet.
Right.
They haven't been able to turn the corner to where when they see it, they're okay with it. Here's what will happen. Your stat was it's more African American men and white women. They'll say he's probably an athlete.
Right.
Okay, because you know the thought process is when African American men get up to a certain level professionally and economically and financially, that they then move away from their own and they go looking for for other people. If you look at a lot of your athletes, etc., here's something that's really interesting. You see a lot of African American males that are professional athletes that are married to Caucasian or European women. How many Caucasian or European athletes that are males do you see married to African American women?
Right.
You don't.
You don't.
So America still has a long way to go.
And listen, when you say that, I think African American women still have a long way to go, and Caucasian American men have a long way to go. Those are the two groups that have the most major issue with this.
But look, and I was thinking about
and
this
get
just
over
this
it.
morning.
It's get over it.
And that might be true, but I think the other thing you have to do when you start to relate, I think you have to also, to a degree, try to put yourself in some way into the other person's shoes. Now, one of the things about African American women that you hear all the time is that more African American men are incarcerated, and or they've lost their lives between that 18 and 35-year-old range. And as a result of that,
there's not a lot of guys out there.
There's not, and places that, and I've heard this statistic, and I don't know if it's true, but in some places, I'll just put it like this: it is 3 to 4 to 5 to 1 when it comes to the number of African American men versus the eligible African American women. So there are African American women who they may not put it on Facebook, but they'll go behind the door and they'll say, we already don't have enough African American men, so now those are being taken away from us. Now here's a corollary to that. One could say to them, that's true, but if the African American man is not going to confine himself to the African American woman, then why should you?
Right.
You need to go look and expand your horizons,
right,
etc. And
I'm gonna say this to anybody: find yourself somebody that loves you. That's it. I don't care if they're black, white, whatever.
Let me tell you what I
Find
say.
somebody that loves you and get on with your life, and don't look over your shoulder or worry about what other people are saying to you.
Bingo.
I mean, come on.
And that's what I say. Love is an interesting thing. In some degrees, we don't have any control over who we love, to a degree, because there are some people who we love who we really shouldn't. Doesn't matter the color. But look, here's what I say to my children: if you make a decision that if you fall in love with someone and they're not of your culture, and you decide that that's who you want to be with, then you do you.
That's it.
But don't hide.
That's it.
If you walk down the street with that person
go.
loud and
That's
proud.
why I said, don't be looking over your shoulder.
Right. Look
Listen.
them in the eye and say, "This is my choice."
So there's a friend that I have, and she raised her son. He had the afro, and he was young black brother, and he went off to college, and he came home for a holiday one night, and he opened up the door, and he had brought this white chick home with him, and that mom was like, listen, I told this to parents: don't live your children's lives.
Right.
Let them experience life, on their own terms. Give them whatever information you can give them, but let them live their own lives. Listen, I have 2 interracial children. They're the love of my life. They are the love of my life. They know that they're loved by our entire family sculpture. Everyone loves them, because we have to move beyond race. We have to. For this country to become the country that it can be, we have to move beyond it. And listen, time will do it anyway, because eventually we're all going to be.
I'm going to disagree with you.
Go for it.
I don't think we need to move beyond race. We need to learn to accept race. And I don't know that, because I don't believe that we'll ever get to a point, nor should we get to a point where we're all the same. Or we say that, you know, oh, well, we're all, you know, someone was talking
I don't want to get rid of soul food. I'm not getting rid of soul food, so I'm not, you know, but I understand what you're saying.
But you know, at the end of the day, I think that we need to learn to celebrate diversity, celebrate differences. There are ways that we do things differently, period. Our experiences and the way that we raise our children, the way that we eat our food, the way that we enjoy our free time, etc., they're different. And I think when we get to the point where we say, you know what, it's okay to be different. It's okay for you to be that race. It doesn't make you better. It doesn't make you worse. It doesn't make me better or me worse, but it's just differences that make us better. It's that whole thing about the melting pot. I so don't agree with that. We are not a country that is a melting pot. We're a country that's a patchwork quilt.
We are. We're a mosaic.
And that's really what it is.
There's no doubt.
And that's what it ought to be.
But sometimes, you know, it does blend into other parts. The parts do blend together. Listen, I know about Italian culture. I love it. My daughter is half Italian. I love it. It's a wonderful culture. Black culture, I love it. Well, I can love it all, but don't get tied in and just saying, you know what, I'm black, I have to marry black, I have to love black. That's almost ridiculous. I can't go to the St. Patty's Day parade. Why not? We have to start stepping outside of our comfort zone. And guess what? A lot of times my comfort zone isn't always in the black community. Sometimes I'm comfortable in the black community because listen. Some things I don't agree with everything in the black community. I don't.
Well, and we have to get away from this kind of thought process in the African American community that there's only one way of thinking. Every African American should not be a Democrat. Now, I'm a strong Democrat, and I believe in the democratic values, but every single African American is not meant to be a Democrat. And if we don't have African Americans that are in the Republican Party as an example, then we don't give them the benefit of understanding our needs, our wants, our desires, and we really do a great disservice to ourselves.
Right.
Absolutely.
And the other thing is that there's a lot of things in the Republican Party that a lot of black people agree with.
Absolutely.
A lot of things.
Absolutely. But because we demonize one another for being different, and isn't that amazing that we want everyone to embrace difference, but in our own culture, if people are different than what we think they ought to be and think differently, then we say, oh, you're bad, you know, you're straying away, and it can't be that way. It's got to be consistent. We have got to be in a position where we understand that people think differently, even though they have a skin tone that is, you know, has more melanin in it. And I think that's what we need to get to. But at the end of the day, that to me is an interesting battle. But there's a much larger battle that's going on that is out of our control to a degree, because there's still a majority that does not want to accept us and give us access, us being African Americans, access to the quote American dream. There's still a lot of institutional racism. There's still a lot of systemic racism. There's still a lot of that out there, and you can't just turn your face and act like it doesn't exist. The responsibility is certainly ours to reach out, but it's also on the other side too, for them to right some of the wrongs of the past and to embrace and to bring us in. I mean, if you take a look at corporate America right now and the number of CEOs that are African American, if you take a look right now, even in politics, in the U.S. Senate, how many African American senators do we have in the United States Senate?
But I mean, let me just say this though: if you want it, you can get it. And I just let me finish this one thought.
No, go ahead.
My brother Kenny started out as a janitor at Atlantic City Electric Company.
Okay.
A janitor.
Okay.
Going to college, but as a janitor. Eventually became president of Atlantic City Electric Company. Listen, we come up with all these excuses. Listen. Let me just say this.
But LA.
let me just say this. We can't write ourselves off in the beginning. We have to go out there and make an effort. And I can drive you to the city right now and show you people that don't have any kind of direction. They're going to probably go to jail, or they're going to be fitted for a coffin very shortly. And if that's what you want to do with your life, then that's your decision. I'm sorry.
But look,
I can't keep blaming America for some of our own ills.
You can't play the black and white game. Everything is not black and white. Because you have one person that went from janitor to president, that doesn't mean that everybody does. And here,
but
hear me out.
There?
Hear me out. I'm not saying it's not. You didn't hear me say that the fault is everybody else's. You heard me say that there's a lot of things that we must do. We can't allow ourselves to be distracted. We cannot allow ourselves to have ADD. We have a responsibility. There's a lot of things. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to say that it's all us.
Oh, I'll never say that.
There's a lot of things we can do differently.
Listen,
the way we raise our children, the things, the focus that we give our children, in a lot of cases, is wrong.
How many more examples of success in the African American community do we need to realize that we can get somewhere no matter what condition we're in? We can. And listen, we've had thousands upon thousands upon thousands of examples. They're flashing across the screen right now. Thousands upon thousands upon thousands. And we still, you know what? We need this little coddling. Oh, it's going to be okay, and I don't accept that.
I don't believe we need coddling. But are you going to say to me then that you think that based on these thousands upon thousands, that there's still not a need for organizations like the NAACP?
Oh, no, not at all. We need you desperately. But I'm just saying, though, that we have thousands upon thousands upon thousands of examples of people, black people, that came from the worst conditions and got to wear nice suits.
What you're saying is we have a responsibility to work it out ourselves.
Yes,
and
we do.
I agree with that.
We do.
I absolutely agree with that.
Listen, you know what? And when we work that out, that discussion is going to be a very difficult discussion. Mm-hmm. But if you think I'm going to live in a home somewhere and allow black brothers to stand out in front of my home and sell drugs and bring down my community, it ain't happening.
So
it ain't happening.
So to a degree,
we're afraid of young people in our community.
What you're saying then, and I agree with you, is that sometimes you've got to help yourself first before you can expect other people to try to help you.
Sure.
And that's one of the things that I say.
Show me you have some initiative. Show me that you care about yourself. Listen. A lot of these kids never got the direction they needed. Never. I'm going to tell you something. If you want to screw up your life really quickly, get yourself a record. Get yourself a record.
Absolutely.
Then they got you.
Absolutely.
Then you're done.
We have a responsibility as parents, we have a responsibility as leaders, we have a responsibility as role models to let people know that just like I'm sitting here and I was able to make it, I'm not so unique and different. I'm not a very smart guy. I'm not a guy who is this great athlete, this great looking guy.
But you were willing to work hard.
Exactly. So it's not about, I had all of the, I was reading a book the other day that talked about the president, and it says he has a photographic memory. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, wow, that's great. I don't have one.
Me either.
So
what'd you say?
So to a degree, what we have to do is we have to put the ordinary people out there and let people know. See, here's the problem. Sometimes you can, all those thousands of people, I don't care about them. You know why? Because people look at them and they say, well, yeah, but I'm no Puff Daddy. Yeah, but I'm no this. They need to see the everyday person in our community working hard.
I'll let that be your last word. Let me tell you this. Let me tell you this story, then I got to get you out of here. Last year, on Walnut Avenue, which is one of the worst streets in the city of Trenton, mm-hmm. we had twins, sisters, who went to Emily Fisher Charter School. One of the worst streets in the city. Worst. One graduated as a valedictorian. The second one lost by percentage points to her sister to be valedictorian. That's an everyday story, mm-hmm. about a strong mom whose creed was, it's not what's going on outside of my home, mm-hmm. it's what's going on inside. And I will always believe that.
I agree.
Live with LA, Mr. Gordon, thank you for stopping by.
Thanks, LA. I appreciate it.
Have you back. Have a safe trip out to Las Vegas, all right?
Thank you.
Let's go with somebody. That's Pup Bowling in the back. Check him out. Go ahead, Pup. Give him a couple of minutes of fame here. You like that, Earl? Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? That's a good boy right there, man.
I hit every Sunday.
Uh-huh.
You know, Pup plays ball.
That's all right.
What's his last name? Jenkins. Tracy Earl. Oh, no, Colby.
morning, everybody.
Thank you.
Great stuff, man. Earl Jenkins rolling in here. Bishop, how are you?
Good, man. How are you?
What's up, man? You hear that every Sunday?
Every Sunday.
Man, that's some good stuff. I might have to show up to your church.
Yeah, come on through.
What are you preaching, man?
This Sunday we're working on it now.
Listen, let me tell you something. I'm going to tell people, everybody listening, I've got some of the greatest friends, man. This is one of them. And we got another young brother, Pastor Mark Granville from New Life Christian Center. We hang out and do stuff and play golf. We're going to play some golf.
Yeah, he's teaching me how to play golf.
We have some fun, but you know what? You better find yourself some friends, man.
That's right.
Find yourself some friends that are connected to Jesus and the Lord. Find yourself some friends. I'm telling you, it'll make a difference in your life. I don't care what you're going through. I don't care what you're going through. If you're out there, you think you're caught up out there, we know that, there's a safe place for you to start over.
Right. That's right.
Man, read the Bible. Everybody screwed up.
Yeah, that's right.
Everybody screwed up.
That's right. That's right.
Right?
That's right. Everybody. All of us have done something to mark us or disqualifies us from approaching God. But we thank God for grace and mercy that enables us to come boldly, not with cockiness or cockiness, but more in a way that, as a humble person, to go before God, knowing that He sees us as who we are. We have not a high priest who has been touched with the tongues of our infirmities, but in all ways was tempted like us without sin.
Preach on, brother.
So He knows our situation. So He said, "Come, let's reason together. I already know what you've done. Sin has a crimson stain, but I got some power to clean you up." All of us, the moment we're born into a nature called sin. So we're disqualified automatically. But we can have confidence knowing that we serve a God who's willing to forgive us our sin and cleanse us from all unrighteousness.
Does God care about race?
God? No.
Interracial marriage?
No. No, God can care less. He sees, matter of fact, He doesn't even see His color.
Speak up a little bit.
He doesn't see color. He sees His blood. He sees His blood. He covers us with His blood. And God looks at the inside of a person. It's like when He approached Peter, whose name was Simon at the time.
Simon.
And everybody called him Simon because Simon was the mess. Simon was the cursor, the liar, the cheater.
Simon has some issues.
Right. Simon, we all have.
Really?
We call Simon.
Simon was me.
But Jesus saw Peter. Even though his name was Simon.
Right.
So God looks at the pulchritude, but God sees the heart.
Right.
He sees what's going to eventually come out of this.
Pastor Willie Granville always preaches that thing that God judges hearts.
That's right.
God looks at your heart, and that's it.
He created a perfect world but called it good. Because although He knew that this world would eventually become corrupt, He yet had the right intentions of doing it right, regardless of the outcome. So when He sees us, He sees us in the same way. He created us perfect being before we enter our mother's womb, but we messed up. But He still sees what's inside of us.
This is a terrible place, isn't it?
Huh?
Earth.
Okay, it's a horrible place. Horrible place. The worst place to be in. But thank God for Jesus who came and died for the world, that when this world is destroyed, we'll spend eternity with paradise with God.
Let's talk about True Servant. That's where you do your thing, right? You guys do a lot of things out in the public.
Yes, sir.
I got to ask you about this one.
All right.
Or maybe two.
Okay, I'm good.
What was it? You gave away a gift card at a gas station?
Right.
Explain that.
One particular morning, I was at a church down in somewhere South Jersey, and they was doing something very similar, and it kind of intrigued me. And so I thought, well, let's do something on a whole nother level, and that was on one particular Saturday, our church raised some money, and we met the community at a gas station from a certain time to another time. And from that point, people had pulled up.
Anybody that pulls up got what?
Got free gas. Got free gas.
How fast the money go?
It spread pretty much because they had to pull out. They had to pull out amount in a basket.
Right.
So we already had it tapped out. How much we was going to spend.
But it went quick though.
It went quick. About 10 minutes. No, about an hour it was done. But it was great, man.
Yeah.
The response was great. We didn't use it as a marketing tool because I don't believe in that. We just use it as a means of giving back to the community based on where the economy it's bad, and we just want to give back in some way because we know gas, people need that to get to work, kind of thing.
You do a lot of stuff in the community.
Yeah.
That's why I want to have you on because I know you guys have a thing at Martin Luther King Park where you give away everything's free,
clothes,
right?
and food, and do the whole bring in entertainment, fellowship, and the whole thing. Every year we do it. It's our way of tithing back into the community.
Pastors, ministers, churches catch a lot of heat in Trenton. You know what?
Yeah.
You know why? Because a lot of people say, you know what? they're not doing much.
Right, right.
That's not the greatest MO to have, is it?
No, not at all. Not as a church.
Mhm.
You know, where I'm from, really from New Brunswick, our church, our community, they rely on the church, and the churches come together. We do a lot of things in the community. So when I came to Trenton, I was kind of shocked to see how the church wasn't as involved as we were back in New Brunswick, and I was kind of shocked. I'm like, wow. So all those look like we're doing something great. To me, we're just doing the norm. You help the community.
Right.
It's community church. Church is designed to give back to the community. It's non-profit for that reason.
Right. Is it okay for other pastors to criticize other pastors? Is there some kind of like a pastor code, or, you know?
You know, I don't, because I often say, if it's working for you, then God bless you. If you're not doing nothing.
But we know that if Jesus was to come back to Trenton right now and go to every church, he'd probably say, "What are you guys doing?" Right?
Right.
Most of them.
Right.
What are you guys doing?
Right. I agree to that.
That doesn't look like anything like my ministry.
Right.
Because, listen, my opinion is that if your church is really doing well, that if I went out and talked to the neighbors of your church, they'd say, "Man, that's the place. They're doing God's work over there." And I would expect that some of that would have spread out and glazed the neighborhood, so to speak, with your giving. But if I go to some churches that are pulling all these people, right? And listen, I'm not going to even name them, because I'm going to take the pastor code.
Pastor code.
And I look around their community. If I did a 1 block circumference of their church and went to those houses and neighborhoods and looked at those places, I'm shocked. I'm always shocked, because your ministry should impact the neighborhoods where you are.
No doubt about it. That's church, and it's unfortunate that what Jesus intended for the church to be, when he said, "Upon this rock I will build my church," people thought it was representing a building, when the church is the person who carries out the assignment after church meeting is over. Once we get the information on Sunday or Wednesday when our Bible studies, we now become that church, and we go throughout the community to spread what we've learned inside the building, not the church infrastructure as people perceive it to be, but the church is enough. Paul said, "Do you not know that we're the temple of the Spirit, God lives in us?" So where we stand and where we preach, that's what we're having in church. It may not be no plush carpet or chandelier or whatever. It's on the streets, you know. And I think once people really get that, then church will be what Jesus intended. It's pretty bad right now. Building all these monstrosities and these big buildings, and all between people are dying.
What's the point?
You know, and it makes it look bad for those who are really trying to do the work, you know. And
do you frown then about Joel Osteen and Eddie Long and people like that?
No,
It's their thing.
It's their thing. Joel Osteen has a message for people who don't want to be challenged with church lingo.
Right. Listen,
you know,
that's my man.
Yeah.
When I turn on the TV and I see him on there, I'm going to listen to whatever he has to say, because he knows the word. He's saying, and listen, it's just like Pastor Willie Granville, and I'm sure at your church. But when I go to Pastor Willie Granville's church, my church, New Life Christian Center, I know he's going to give me something I need. Listen, pup, I love you. All the pastors praise dancing. Listen, I'm sorry. Listen, listen. The word starts just about 11:10. I'm walking in at 11:10.
Gotcha.
I don't need all the dancing. And Pastor Willie Granville shares this same view with me. He enjoys it.
Oh yeah.
But I don't need that.
Right.
I need the nourishment.
Right.
I need the food. All the dancing and stuff. Praise him. Go ahead.
Do your thing.
But I just need to walk in there and hear the message. And listen, I know you got to get them in there somehow. You got to get them before you can talk to them, right?
Yeah, that's it.
So, tell me a little bit about True Servant. How long have you guys been around?
15 years. We celebrated 15 years last year. We're moving strong. We're growing in terms of not so much in numbers, even though that's happening, but we're growing members. Members that join our church are growing. People are developing character that they didn't have before. They're seeing life differently now,
right?
Which is our main goal, that when you come a part of our church, that you grow as a person, knowing who the premise of your life is. We live in Him, we have our being, and basing your life on that. Right. That's what we teach. You know, it's not denominational, but it's Bible.
But it's the word.
It's the word.
It's the word.
And we base everything on the word of God, and we have fun. That's
and I'm going to tell everybody, give it a shot. You may not even believe, but give it a shot.
Yeah.
It's going to help your life.
No doubt.
All right?
Yes,
Bishop
sir.
Earl Jenkins, thanks for stopping by.
Thank
Got
you.
a couple more things we need to talk about. I will see you later on, right?
Okay, babe.
All right. We did a cleanup at Columbus Park on Saturday. 80 people showed up. It was a great experience. The Berg still is alive and well. It's got a lot of challenges, but the 80 people that showed up, the people that donated time, the companies that donated supplies and material, it was a fantastic event, and we're still doing some things out there, and we're going to continue to try to bring that neighborhood back to what it used to be. Listen, a lot of people over there don't speak English. We've got to find some way to go over there and communicate with them. Tell them what's expected of them. And things must be expected of them. They're newcomers here. They need information, but they need to behave in a certain way. You know, I've been spending a lot of time at the Berg trying to get this event started. On Friday evening, all the state police did was ride up and down Hamilton Avenue making traffic stops. I mean, that's not our issue in Trenton. You know, we're all happy that the state police are here. They're making traffic stops. I'd put a state police officer over on Walnut Avenue. Why not? And you're trying to tell me the state police don't see the hookers walk up and down in the Berg? I was amazed how much prostitution is. And it's just walking around. We were sitting there having dinner. This hooker walked in, hot pants, with all of her rear anatomy hanging out. It's 22 degrees. You think a state police officer or a local police officer might realize that she's a prostitute and follow her and see her get her next trick and arrest them both? This is not rocket science. So the state police are here making traffic stops. Prostitution is through the roof. Violence is through the roof. And we're stopping cars. Oh, thank you, Governor Christie. You're saving the day. Makes no sense whatsoever. Listen. I'm a doer. I have this talk show. I do a radio show, but I'm a doer. I like to see things get done. Give me a rake. Tell me what you need done. I'm going to do it. There's a lot of people doing a lot of talking in this city. A lot of people. Getting their own shows, doing whatever. A lot of people doing a lot of talking. We need action and we need results. Listen, I realize there's got to be some discussions about some things, but the number one thing going on in this city, it is filthy. Black people, Latino people, white people, you guys are pigs. Drove down Hamilton Avenue yesterday for 3 blocks from the train tracks down to around beyond Clinton, down to South Clinton, all those places. The place is a pigsty. This one landlord, it was so bad, I went down to City Hall and complained, and they called him. He fixed it in 1 hour. It was cleaned up. We're a filthy city. Listen, you don't need an education to clean up. You don't have to have great lineage to clean up. You just have to get a rake and a broom and go out and clean up. You don't need to talk about it. We need to talk about, yes, getting a new school, improving education, getting police back on the beat. But cleaning up, that's simple. Go get a garbage bag and a broom and sweep in front of your place every day. Until we take care of that, Trenton is not ready for anything. All the bigger issues, we're not ready to have the discussion. Clean up, Trenton. That's the last word I have for you today. Clean the place up. We could talk about everything else later on. You need to just go get a garbage bag today and say, you know what? I'm going to do what LA suggests. I'm going to clean up. I bet you, then when you walk inside your house, you won't say, man, this place looks like a dump. But that's what Trenton looks like right now. This place is one filthy city. Thanks for listening. LA Live. Hope you enjoyed yourself, and I'll see you next week. Pup Bolding, take us home.